This is CIVITAS. Where will you be for the revolution?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 9. Almost lost count there for a second. Episode 9 of the CIVITAS podcast with your, stationed veterans here. We actually have a new member, though, if you could tell. Much more handsome than our regular Rocky Bobby in the bottom left-hand corner. Our good friend Jordan, that we know well from school and other avenues, is joining us for the pod here. Jordan is Jamaican descent, avid Man United supporter, as you can tell by the gross jersey he has on his chest right now, and we'll get into all that later, which is a big reason why I personally wanted to have him on the pod. But anyway, Jordan, if you just want to say a quick what's up, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a Man United fan, and it goes without saying that I'm stressed and depressed, but happy to be here. And joining in the podcast.
Anyway, thank you very much again for joining us, Jordan, especially on such late notice. We greatly appreciate it. Not all doom and gloom for you, as you're also a Madridista, as we like to say, and we'll get into all that in the ball stuff section, part of my phrasing anyway. But, as we like to start off this, we have Benya, our good server here, give us a little community updates about what's been going on. A lot of stuff has been going on behind the scenes. Just want to kind of update all our avid listeners.
Yeah, so, as you guys have seen, we've been releasing the podcast episodes. We've been figuring out behind the scenes exactly how we want to structure this organization and how we want to move forward with it. So we've been really putting in the effort to do the right research, to talk to the right people within the industry that have worked on DAOs, that have done similar projects, to make sure, we're really learning and doing it the right way. So in the next few weeks, we're really going to be changing a lot of things up and really forming a concrete structure of how we want to go about building this organization and at the end of the day, achieving what we want to achieve. So we're really excited for that. Stay tuned. And in the meantime, just check in on the Discord. Stay up to date with us on all our socials. And I'm excited. This is going to be dope.
A little quick synopsis of what we've been working on here. Trust me, it's a lot more in-depth than it seems right now, especially with organizations like this. Like, the whole goal of it all is to definitely be more be transparent and open to all. It's a very democratic society, so to speak. But, in the beginning process, things have to be kept a little internal for it to just move efficiently and rapidly, So we're not leaving anybody out, those of you that are listening, and we're really grateful for those of you that are actually still tuning in and supporting us along the journey. We're only getting started up the CIVITAS. It's going to be a great, great journey. If anyone else has anything to say about CIVITAS updates, otherwise let's go into our crypto stories of the day. A lot has happened this week in the whole space in general, not only the footy world, obviously a good combo of the both, but Faraz, take it away.
Yeah, right before I get into the chatting crypto section, I just want to echo both your sentiments. This whole project is niche. It's new. Therefore, we have to put a lot of time in to figure out everything as far as the structures revolve. So we're just trying to do our best, and we'll get all the information out as soon as possible once we have everything laid out. Now, transfer and to move along to the chatting crypto section. It's a very revolutionary week, boys. March the 9th, this past Wednesday, our great president, Joseph Biden, signed an executive order. Yeah, that's subjective. I'll give that to you guys. But on March 9th, Joe Biden has signed an executive order regarding an overlay of crypto and the crypto space and the financial sector in general. What that entails is essentially 6 unique things. But the importance of those 6 things I'll get into, but what's important about this executive order in general is the fact that the whole crypto community sees it as a watershed moment because it brings light into crypto in general, and it gives them an acknowledgement that they had not had. It gives digital assets in that financial world an acknowledgement that they were wanting and needing in order to grow and fully commercialize to the potential they can be. But those 6 things that are within this executive order, just to quickly go through them, are consumer investor protection, financial stability, illicit activity, competitiveness, and then financial inclusion and innovation. Now, in my opinion, the 3 most important parts out of those 6 are probably innovation, the control of illicit activity, and then competitiveness in the space. And I'll just give you my personal thoughts on each one of those, topics real quick. As far as the innovation goes, what I've been hearing is that the order calls for the research and development of what's called a central bank digital currency, a CBDC. And right now, the only country that I think has a fully CBDC that's used in public spending is China. Has something very similar, but that's because they try to have all their assets on the digital market in order for them to control as a central government much easier. And then I think Haiti actually has a confirmed CBDC, but I got to double check on that for you guys.
Wow.
Interesting.
Now, when it comes to that, you got pros and cons. If that's actually created in the United States, it'll increase the speed and the security of all transactions because everything's going to be on your phone or your smartphone, your tablet or what else. But it'll just happen instantaneously, right? And it's all monitored through the central bank because it'll be registered through the central bank, even though it's a digital currency. As far as the illicit activity, though, what he wants is to assemble a task force that'll, overlook all different sorts of transactions and protect, from illegal activity. One of the biggest examples in recent times was in 2016, a cryptocurrency trading network called BitFX. They had $3.6 billion worth of Bitcoin illegally mined out. And recently, actually, in the past 2 weeks, in late February, the U.S. government finally took back those assets and returned them.
Wow.
I think that's definitely needed in this space and in this executive order. And then I think most importantly is competitiveness. And you guys all know, all our listeners probably know, but the U.S. economy is the largest economy in the world and it's the strongest in the world. All international transactions go through New York City because of how powerful the dollar is and how everything's marked by the dollar. So I think the U.S. and, Joe Biden in particular maybe sees this space primed for the taking. He wants the U.S. to be involved in it as the largest economy and make a stance, and everybody else follow from there. Because if you guys know, in China, they actually banned any form of crypto trading because they see it as a direct threat to their central bank. So what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
That makes sense. The whole Chinese aspect makes sense, right? Because it's just like the epitome of what cryptocurrency is the decentralization, like the lack of control from one entity, and that's just the complete opposite of whatever China wants to do over there. But I think it's really good. Like, and we were kind of discussing it before. I feel like there were 2 ways you could have thought, like, seeing this news. It's like one, in a negative way and how it would impact the markets negatively, and say, because government is getting involved now, it's not going to be as decentralized, it's going to be more regulated, which is going to go against the whole epitome of what the currencies, like, what they're all about. But then in the other way, it just gives more light and legitimacy to all these people that were investing in Dogecoin since they were 2017, are like, finally I'm being recognized, like, this is legit, like grandma, I can move out soon. But anyway, so I think we're going to definitely see a more positive light in this, and I think the market's only going to grow up and up, and it kind of just proves now that, at least in the States, like you said, largest economy in the world, like, it's not going anywhere. It's going to grow and grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. I think this is so good. And again, you have like all these different cryptocurrencies are connected, right? So like with the CBDCs, it still like forms like you said, competitiveness, right? Like there's so many other currencies out there that actually have utility, actually do things, and protocols that so many applications are built on top of. So the money's just gonna flow into those more and more. You're gonna see that like 100% play out, in my opinion.
Jordan, you a big crypto heavy invested person, or what's the deal with you?
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that I can actually do. So definitely on it. I think with that news, it puts me in 2 places, right? Because crypto is not only used to sort of decentralize the movement of money, but it's also used in countries and situations where there's high inflation, And a lot of governments, I mean, for as you mentioned, Haiti, a lot of governments are trying to, stop that. I think in Argentina, they've banned, they've banned people from actually purchasing U.S. currency directly, and they put a cap on it as well. And people use cryptocurrency for that, So I definitely think that opens up more to people who want to use it in a non-traditional way, and also like having the support of the government means that the technology can be built out. If
Right.
it becomes more mainstream, then we'll get a deeper understanding of it as well. So I'm interested. It's an interesting news, but at the same time, we do have to recognize that, like, with the government being involved as well, that just makes, people, it makes decisions that people make, a little bit harder, I guess.
Jordan, as someone, if our listeners don't know, you work in the financial sector, but I was thinking that this also could be seen as a threat to the traditional financial sector and those high-level investors. Do you think those larger people in the traditional financial sector could see this as a threat, essentially overtaking them, in the future?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here is that as an investor, right, I want to be involved in something that's moving the market and I'm able to get profits from, and like it being like a novelty, like created, interesting or attractive price movements. But as it grows into like sort of a mainstream currency, I think investors may, try to find other alternative routes. It's very similar to Forex if you think about it, right? Foreign exchange, right?
Yeah.
And as they begin to, centralize almost, certain cryptocurrencies, they become more stable, right? And people see less value in trading them daily, right? So I think as an investor, that's one of the things I think about, that yes, crypto is a novelty right now and not a lot of people are in it, and that creates like an attractive spread. But with the government coming in and centralizing that, I think it's going to stabilize it, and there's going to be less attractiveness as far as that's concerned.
So you're saying we're not going to see as many like poo PP coins go 10x, 20x, 30x.
I mean, you'll still see that, and I believe you'll still see that, but not where large investors are going to run to and feel confident in,
One other
in the
thing
fact that they're going to
about
create
this,
good spread.
one other thing about this executive order that wasn't included was anything about stable coins. Now, I don't know how much you guys know, but stable coins are essentially any cryptocurrency that's pegged to any sort of flat money rate or any other sort of cryptocurrency. And I don't know if they did that on purpose because they have something in the works with stable coins, or if they don't see any value in it. But I think Tether in particular, which is based on the US dollar, its value is always supposed to be $1.
Yeah.
They're looking into to get an idea of if they can convert that into a central bank digital currency. So we'll see.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a ton of examples of stable coins, especially specifically pegged to the US dollar, like USDC, USDT. Every different network also has their own, appropriate stable coin. But that's interesting. We'll see, I guess, kind of how that comes to terms with it all. I mean, if there's like a US dollar coin now, like that is going to be the stable coin, but I don't know. I don't know how it's
also,
all works.
I think if
Like
the
a
US
digital
is successful
USD
in centralizing or monitoring crypto in general, I think China might change their position too, even though almost everything they do is controlled by the government as far as financially, and their central bank is so strong. We'll see.
I mean, it's regardless of what they do, it's going to be controlled by the government, whether they're, just painting it with this decentralized, facade. It's never going to be like that. And we kind of know that. But something like the US kind of getting into that and kind of threatening their position economically would be something to move China's position on the topic, right? Like they're not just going to sit still and shut their mouths about it. So
absolutely. Also, you guys know that there was a huge wave of like Bitcoin miners out of China into like Kazakhstan and the US after they passed those regulations. So those were crazy as well.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Cool. Definitely evolving space. I think it's good news overall, and we'll see how it goes. I don't know.
And then I think one other piece of news that I want to highlight before we move on to talk some ball is the club that we've talked about on many occasions on this podcast.
It's a good segue into ball stuff with
exactly.
You know, we're just leaning in there. It's good.
One of the greatest clubs in the world. I know the guys in the top right and top left are supporters of this club, but your very own Barcelona, they came out and made some more headlines this week, or actually last Thursday.
Always something.
Joan Laporta, their president, he was part of a seminar in Barcelona about mobile telecommunications. And he got up on the stage and gave a very vibrant speech regarding how Barcelona's financial structure is still in flux, how they're still threatened by the non-conventional football businesses out there and sovereign wealth funds and big financial backers in football, and how their club structure is unique and they need to find some sort of financial gateway to gain more revenue. And he actually mentioned the creation of Barcelona's very own metaverse, along with Barcelona's very own cryptocurrency, in addition to their NFT launch, which is about to happen, I think, in the next few months. So any thoughts on that, boys? I'm kind of flabbergasted because
Barcelona,
I have a lot of thoughts on this.
From different cryptocurrency companies in order to create a cryptocurrency for them, but they never wanted to associate themselves with any company, and they're going on their own route. What complications do you guys think that could have?
Ben, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think it's crazy what's happening because we're just like seeing how fast this space is moving and how fast like these teams are trying to take advantage of these kind of legitimate like functions of how an organization can make revenue. Like we saw again, like with all the coins from that we're seeing like partnered with all the clubs right now, right? The Socios tokens. All those teams are making so much money. You look at even PSG after they lost yesterday, how much it dropped, and it's still valued at like $50-60 million. It's like it's pretty crazy like how much money are in those entities. And that's why I think that Barcelona are just trying to make more money somewhere, and this is a perfect opportunity for them to do that. And they're just trying to get as much hype because that's what's kind of hype right now. But I don't think it might be sustainable into the future, depending on how they go about it. But again, as the space gets more interest, it does make sense. Like NFTs make so much sense in terms of like holding value compared to what we see as like collectibles, all these different things. Like I was just listening to this other podcast the other day and they were talking about it. Gary Vee actually was talking about it, and it just the way he talks, but everything just made so much sense in terms of how the space is moving, like based on, you know, historically speaking and just what we're actually seeing play out. So yeah. So I think they're doing it right, but we'll see if they structure it right for like the long term.
Yeah, doing the right thing, but maybe not taking the right approach. We'll only see as time goes on.
Yeah.
Jordan, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think in this space, I think it's key to have partners and partners that know the technology. I think Barca has done, well enough to dig themselves in a hole many occasions, trying to finance things that they can accomplish, and I think this may be another one. I think, in this space, I think partners are important, partners that know the technology, and if they're thinking of trying to build it out on their own, I'm not sure how far that's going to take them. But I think the idea is good. It's something that can help them raise funds, and it's something that can bring their club into like a newer age, right?
Yeah.
And set them up for the future that way. So, I think it's still good.
The NFT
Jordan is an avid Barca hater, so take everything he says about Barcelona with a grain of salt. I just wanted to let the viewers know.
No, I think you have, but I think
I just need to give some.
They've always, tried to dig themselves into a hole doing things on their own and siloed. Like, I
Yeah,
think
that's true.
partnerships are good. And I don't know. I don't trust Barca's management. I think they've spent money in ways that no one can justify. But listen, I can't even talk. My club does the same thing.
Hey, bro.
Still have the same frustrations, but now they're up. Barca's up, and they're trying to capitalize on that. That hype, because they definitely lost a lot when Messi left.
Yeah.
Think
At
about
least Man
sponsorship
United-
deals, all of that.
At least Man United is not in financial turmoil like Barcelona is.
Well,
and I agree with
Yeah.
Jordan, especially the NFT portion. I agree with Ben. It's gonna be successful regardless if they have any strategic partnerships. But as far as creating their own metaverse and creating their own cryptocurrency, they need someone who has more experience in that space rather than themselves.
Why don't they look to their, potential shirt sponsor, Polkadot, that we covered?
They don't want. That's the
on
thing.
episode. What was it? 3, 4?
Yeah,
Wow.
episode 5 actually. But
5.
they had offers from another company called Ominex, I think in September or October, but because there was a executive within Ominex that got found guilty of some money laundering or something, so they ended their partnership with them, but they were about to do it in early October. So we'll see
As
what
if
happens.
that shady stuff hasn't happened behind the Barcelona boardroom seats.
Yeah.
Right?
Everyone's a hypocrite nowadays, but but I get them.
Jordy, if you were the owner of Man U right now and you could buy any player out on the market, who would it be right now?
Come on, don't do that. Virgil van Dijk, probably. I'm sure of that back line.
Interesting.
I kind of like that a lot. I like
To be
that a
honest,
lot.
recognize what you need.
Yeah.
It's just we need a transformative player like Virgil van Dijk, and I'm just using Virgil as an example, right? He changed Liverpool so much. Like, if you think about when Klopp just came into the club, they were playing good football, but they weren't solid. They didn't have like that stronghold. So I think a player like that is one we need right now, and we don't have.
You guys are jumping ahead. You guys are jumping ahead of yourselves. Wait a second.
I think the
I
players.
am. I was just so excited.
Yeah, sorry. The
We'll
players
get
are
to
not
that. We'll
good
get to
enough.
that, ladies and
Like,
gentlemen. I guess we gotta
we'll get
fill
to
this
it, but
itch. Anybody have any last minute thoughts on this whole Barcelona NFT project, crypto diving ideas and whatnot? I feel like we covered it pretty well. Anyway, it was an interesting space. We'll see if Laporta can do it.
I think the last thing I want to note on it is that the more people understand how to even buy NFTs, the better it is for even this project, right? So we need to educate people, and if Barcelona are going to help educate people on actually purchasing NFTs, what value they hold, how to actually work with them in the applications, then
it only helps.
Yeah.
Listen, if Burnley can do it, anyone can do it. You know what I mean? I don't know if you saw Burnley has a fan token.
That's the second time that we've called out the citizens of Burnley Football Club for maybe not being the brightest when it comes to this technology. But anyway, I hope you guys prove us wrong. Burnley fans, DM us, shit on us if we're wrong about that. We'd love to be wrong. Anyway, I think we're to satisfy the itch. I think we should move on to some of this ball stuff. But first, I want to offer my sincerest apologies to all of our avid listeners, the 3 or 4 of you that are still here, for not going over this jersey talk right now that we missed at the beginning. RB would be rolling in his grave. He's not dead. I was joking. But anyway, let's go around the rounds. I see Faraz with a little influence from today's Villa game, smashing Leeds 3-0 away, has a little Villa kit on. I think it's from last year. But what you got on? What you got on body?
Yeah, third kit of Aston Villa last year. It has the little camouflage Kappa. I love the badge. Love the green and the blue. I think it's a clean kit. I don't want to brag.
It's a clean one. There's no one on the back, right?
No one's
Jack.
on the back.
My boy Jack. No.
No, if I got anybody, definitely. If I would go get Coutinho and try to trick people.
Wow, yeah, that'd be kind of clean. I like that jersey. I give it like an 8.5. Well, 8.5.
Thank you.
I like those. I like some of those in the back you got behind you better, but we'll get to those other days. I think.
Yeah.
We'll see.
No, I really like that kid, and especially after today's absolute demolishing. I'll give it like a 9.1.
Okay.
Oh, been going high. Been going high.
Okay.
Jordan, you like this Villa kit? What are your thoughts on it? Your first time rating a jersey. Welcome to the tradition.
Yeah, I wish it was Leon Bailey, but I'll say
Yeah.
solid kid, you know, the white, you know, it's good, it's not bad.
Thank you, bro.
Cool. All right, Jordan, we'll get to you. Is that from last season, United?
No,
kit?
that's this
is
year.
This is this season. Guys, it was hard putting on this jersey. I literally contemplating it a couple of times. You know, it's just hard being a Man United fan, and you know, I know a lot of us are deflated right now, and you know, and looking for hope in any way. So I have the biggest hope master jerseys on right now, Cristiano Ronaldo. Hopefully he can do something for us, you know, next week or even against Spurs. Hopefully he's back as well.
The GOAT.
So I was gonna give that kit a 0 until you said Cristiano Ronaldo, and so now I'm gonna give it like a -5 in my opinion.
No, it's hard. It's official match jersey as well. So
all right, a -4. I'll give it that.
You know what I mean? It's breathable. You know, anything. I'm trying to sell my own club here. So.
I'll give it a like 8.6. I would have done more for Ronaldo. I like that. Back at Man.
That's just ridiculous.
I get it solid, bro. Just the fact that it has the GOAT on there, I got to give you above an 8.5.
Nonsense. It's nonsense.
Oh, and
he got the Champions League.
Look at that.
I like that a lot.
We got patches.
Good thing you wore that. Good thing you wore that before next week because I don't think they're going through. But anyway, that's topic for another time. Let's get to me. My kit, just a classic Bayern München jersey from any year between 2013 and 2018. Home jersey. They all look the same.
That's the year they won the. That's the year they won the Champions League against Dortmund.
Oh, really? 2013.
Well, if you guys remember, what was always really screwed up about that was they wore a jersey all the way up into the final, and in the final they gave you the new one, and
they're like the only team I knew that ever did that, which is super weird.
No, I think Chelsea has done it before.
Chelsea did it in the league, though.
Yeah.
We did it in the league.
Yeah, never in like Champions League final. Anyway, just alluding to their absolute. I just wore this jersey to allude to their absolute thunderbolting of Salzburg.
Right there, Bayern.
Yesterday evening. Yes, Bayern Munich represented wholly into this crowd. Any German fans that we have here, maybe you either love Bayern or you hate Bayern. Anyway, it's a classic kit. Give it a quick rating before we move on, ladies and gentlemen.
8.2.
8.3.
All right, that's fine.
Give it a solid 8.
All right, that's fine. I'll take all that. Anyway, enough of that. We're supposed to maybe we cut that and put it in the beginning of the pod because we did miss that out. But anyway. Let's go on to arguably the most exciting part of the pod, the stuff that we get most animated about for sure. And the reason why I had our good friend Jordy here to talk more about, we had absolute belters of games all throughout this week. You know, there's so many games, especially with midweek Champions League games, to talk about. It's hard to console it into one, segment, but we're going to start with that. And although there was much more of a headline yesterday, we're going to go all the way back to the weekend, arguably the biggest game there. That has a lot of talking points, which was the Manchester Derby. Man, if you were living under a rock, Manchester City at home beat Manchester United 4-1, completing the league double over them for honestly the first time in a while. Probably the only thing that Solskjaer could hold his head high about.
It made me miss him. It did make me miss him.
That might be the only Man United fan I've ever heard say that. But they absolutely smashed them. Honestly, first half started off relatively even compared to what you'd expect to have happened. And then after that second De Bruyne goal, it just kind of all fell apart. Wheels fell off. United showing what they do best, which is losing. City showing what they do best, which is keeping possession, literally having 92% of the ball at one point in the game, which is quite astounding. As a City fan, I'll just say more of the same. It's great. We need to win out, which is a ridiculous concept to even think about in the Premier League, having to win out to maybe win the league because Liverpool is right on our tails. But it was a good performance. I think we adjusted tactically really well, especially even after that Sancho goal. And I think De Bruyne played well. Mahrez, I've said it time and time again. I think he's almost been our best player this season. Bernardo is getting kind of the headlines, and KDB will always get them too. But I think Riyad Mahrez this is probably his best season in that sky blue kit. And so,
how many goals does he have right now?
at least 11 now, I think, all competitions. No, all competitions, I think he has like 15 or something, which is like pretty good. I mean,
Yeah, he's very
pretty
close
stunning.
to his like total at Leicester as well.
Yeah,
So.
no one in that City team, gets 20, 25 goals a season because it's just so spread out, which is kind of part of their, their greatness in kind of.
And he's been
like a very
consistent
team
in the
effort.
lineup as well. Yeah.
Yeah, this is by far his most consistent run in the Pep team, for sure. And so it's just good to see him on because he's a nifty baller. You know what I mean? But Jordan,
Yeah, he's so
let's
clean.
get to the other end of the spectrum, the other side of Manchester United. What went wrong? What do you need to see fixed immediately? I have some questions for you too, but I kind of want to feel what you're thinking about this, especially after watching that performance.
I just feel like that performance on the weekend showed how much City is better than us. Like in management, in players, in style, and it's really deflating for every Man United fan to just experience that. I think that personally was more embarrassing to me than the 5-0 at Liverpool, because to be honest, and people talk about money and how Man City has brought in so much money into the league, but Man United spent almost the same amount, right, in transfers and stuff. We just don't get it right as a club, and we haven't gotten it right as a club for a while, right? And yesterday, I mean, the weekend just showed how, what good management looks like, and better management looks like. And I feel like for Manchester United fans right now, right, we'd have hope nowhere, right? There's nothing giving us like anything, there's no one in that. I mean, the only person I would say from that performance that showed signs was Sancho, right? That's because he got
his goal,
right?
Yeah.
The rest of the performance was a little bit lackluster. I think we don't close. I mean, when you play Manchester City, right, it's hard to hold possession. We know that, right? But they weren't able to close down any of the players. The players had more space and time on the ball than anyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you give City that, it's pretty much game over, right?
Yeah,
because they grow in confidence in the game, and once they're at their peak, it's done. You know what I mean? And I brought up a point earlier, Ole, right? The one thing you can say about him is that he did not lose against some of the big six. We did double over Chelsea, we did double over City, and it for me, the biggest thing is that it was never, consistent, yes, under him, but for one, he always disrupted play, right? He always, at times they played good football, even though our defense was bad. And I think under Ralph, it's still a lot of the same, but there's no like enthusiasm. There's no
passion.
hope.
There is no vision. There is no aggression. Oh, it's one of my favorite videos.
There's literally nothing there for us.
I agree, dude.
To hold
literally
the
last 15 minutes of the game, like they were just walking at that point. Like there was no, not to repeat myself, there was no passion, there was no vision, there was no aggression. Like they were just really lazy. And I understand that you were down 3 goals at the time, but just like you got to show some effort. It's a derby. It's like you owe that to your fans that like traveled all that way. And it's the same city. I was just joking, but like it's just to show that. I don't know.
No, if I can chime in, I totally agree. They literally gave up the last 15 minutes. Yeah. Like, how can a team have 92% possession when it's like the best team in the league versus, let's say, the 5th best team in the league? That's still ridiculous. Right. Like, I'm sorry, Jordan, but Fulham gave them more of a competition than you. Fulham in the FA Cup.
Very much so.
And second, but one thing I did enjoy was the first 20 minutes. Man United actually gave them some problems, like Pogba playing in that role with Bruno. They gave them some problems.
It looked good.
You saw, Pep literally called over Laporte and Rodri and said, listen, whenever they come or whenever we have the possession of the ball, Laporte, you need to go higher up the pitch and provide support so we can play triangles. And they fixed it right after that. Guardiola is a next-level manager. You always have to admit that. I think City, honestly, their squad's better too. Like, at the end of the day, I don't rate Harry Maguire. Why did he let the ball roll through his legs?
Let's talk about
What
that.
is
Let's
he
talk
doing?
about that.
Yeah.
Well, he's not good enough to be captain, and like I've said this on numerous
Let alone
occasions,
starting,
that
dude.
he is the problem. Like I even look at Lindelof, a player like Lindelof, and Lindelof gets so much stick, but he's such a good passer of the ball. Like when Lindelof has the ball, I feel so much comfort versus when Harry Maguire does. You know, because as you know, as bad as he is defensively, you know, at times, right? It's because he doesn't have sufficient cover, right? He doesn't have like a leader in the defense to say, listen, we're dropping back, we're doing this. Like if you see how Virgil van Dijk, no matter who he pairs with, right, he tries to close down that space, right? So that's why even like Konate is not even as good as Lindelof, but in his role, he can play his role as a defender, right?
Bro, and there
Harry
was
Maguire
one
does
moment.
none of that.
There was
Good
one
players
moment.
make other players look even better, right? That's a sign of a
Yeah,
really
we
good
only
player.
need one good centre back, and the rest like we have.
Well, you got
enough in the squad.
Varane in the transfer window, and honestly, he's not been all that.
No, but he's not.
impactful.
He's not a leader. He's not a leader in the back, right? He just has.
Yeah.
There was
experience,
one moment
you know what I
where
mean?
where Fred literally was yelling at Wan-Bissaka,
Yeah, I
and
remember
Wan-Bissaka didn't listen to him. Like people are blaming each other, and
Yeah.
I know people don't
Yeah.
rate Fred, but at least he runs around and like gives
Yeah.
an effort.
Gives that energy.
Yeah, and that's what I would want from a D-mid. I think the biggest thing when we play McFred is that McTominay is a stick, right? He never gets to a ball on time. He never anticipates play. So it's basically like you're playing a man down, and the only thing is that he can get physical. That's literally it. Like you're playing, I mean, he shouldn't be playing for Man United.
Speaking of physical and speaking of Erwan Bissaka, if you didn't see that moment where Phil Foden absolutely bodied him off the ball, I literally stood up in my chair and shouted. It was awesome, man. This little skinny Mancunian kid it was absolutely balling
not
out.
enough fight.
Jordan, I want to ask you
all.
about two specific someone's in the squad, and we'll get to the more important one maybe after. But Marcus Rashford, dude, he's not starting at the moment. He's not playing well. He's still super young. Like they're playing Elanga on the wing, and not because he's better, but just because he seems like he cares more. Almost like he's running more. Like Rashford's contract gonna expire soon. Like, how are you feeling about this man? Is he done? I don't think he's done, but like, what does he need to get going again?
I'm
And the
so
fact
like
that the rumors come out 12 hours after, like about him wanting to leave after the game. That's kind of shady.
I mean, Rashford is a player that
Yeah.
I think could be a franchise player. Like I think Marcus Rashford embodies everything that we hope someone from like Manchester, would be, right? As far as his, outreach, outside of football and on the pitch when he started. But I think the mismanagement from a lot of coaches and the sentiment that is around Man United right now does not help Rashford. Rashford is a player, and you saw it with a lot of young players, is that they thrive on confidence, but they thrive on like good performances, Losing is a hell of a thing, right? It affects your psyche no matter which team you are, right? But losing consecutively and being blamed for that loss, right? It never feels good. And I feel like Rashford needs a couple good moments in order to feel like himself again. Like I go back
Might be suffering
when he just started in the league, and we were playing him as our best player at the time. We had him kicking free kicks in the Champions League. You know what I mean? Like when you empower a player like that, I think they're able to grow, but they're also able to take up that responsibility. And I feel like with so many changes that is happening around the club and the sentiment being poor, I think Rashford, that's not a good environment for a player to
I agree.
on.
I don't think United should. I definitely think United shouldn't give up on him. I don't think those claims are even true. I don't know if it came from him more so. I think it's all kind of rumors, etc.
No, it's and when you play for Manchester United, you know that rumors are going to spread, right?
Right,
You can't get involved in it. The fact that Harry Maguire got in a fit because they're saying that there's like disconnect between him and Ronaldo. Like, what is that? Like, how?
Yeah. That kind of goes to
any other big man, like big player. You know what I mean? They shouldn't care about that, and they shouldn't care about little petty things that happen on the internet. Like
that goes to one quick point. I want to get Ben in on this too, but like Man United, they have a communications director, like one of the few people that has an actual communications director, especially just for the players only, not just a social media manager. They fired him and they hired this other lady who's taken that role, but she never talks to anybody apparently, and she never actually communicates. Like, why was there rumors about Ronaldo not being in the squad, going to Portugal, being injured, about Rashford, about Maguire?
It's kind of what this is a good segue into what.
Oil.
This is a good segue into, I think, the last main point about this whole, derby was this whole Ronaldo situation. I heard lots of rumors on that he was either injured. He was either injured, he was dropped, and so refused to travel with the team. He just went to Portugal to sunbathe and, put oil on his legs or something. It's not a good look, regardless of how you see it. The fact that he didn't even travel with them, and by travel, I mean literally drive across the city to the stadium. So I don't know what's going on there. Maybe was a little injured and was focusing on bigger games. Maybe the Atletico game takes precedent, but even though that's in a week from now, and he might play midweek.
World Cup
qualifiers as well. Portugal, we're going to get into that. I'm sure it's going to be a very, very hot. That is definitely his biggest game of his life right now in his career. That Portugal qualifier, because he's not making another international competition. Maybe Euro 2020.
No.
What is it now?
No, he's going to be pushing like
4. Oh my God, COVID messed up all my days. He'll be pushing it.
He'll be pushing P big time.
I don't think Portugal would even benefit from that.
He'll be 40.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
He's 40. If anyone can do it, though, it's him. I mean, look at the walk on.
Yeah.
We'll
see.
I think Ronaldo's I think Ronaldo's the most professional player we've probably seen. Like, this guy does not cheat the game or cheat the fans. Yeah. But I do think he has those, like, obviously they all have egos, but he has probably a bigger ego than most. So
I think on the pitch, he has a big ego, and we discussed it, right? What environment is best for the players as they're growing, as they're getting, good. And I'm not sure if Ronaldo being in the squad and getting agitated and getting upset with a lot of the players, that I think could work back in the day when Alex Ferguson was around. A lot of these players now, you really need to baby them, right? You really need to give them a supportive environment. And I think the same thing goes for Man United players, at least the younger ones, where
nowadays
they
might not be good for
confidence.
Might not be good for Ronaldo. Going to get them gray hairs, going to get them wrinkly skin, which goes against his brand. Anyway, that's enough United City talk. Jordan will put you out of your misery. Maybe move on to some more positive things.
Joel,
still a lot of stuff to cover. What?
I want to ask you a question this weekend. Do you feel more confident winning the league or winning the Champions League this season?
Champions League. Oh, like that more what I won or what I feel like?
What you feel more confident in?
You got to say the league just because we've done it so many times and we're more experienced in that. Champions League is one moment can.
Pressure's more on you or Liverpool
for the league.
Since
it's
they're
probably
chasing,
us, to be honest. If whoever's in the driving seat is going to have that pressure, but in that situation, you want to be the one with that pressure. And time and time again, we went 98 to 97 points with Liverpool back in 2018-19 season. We can do it. It's not going to phase anybody in that squad. You know what I mean? And, I know Liverpool fans are going to be so butthurt if they get to that point where they're losing the league again by one point or something, and that would just be marvelous. And if we can put it on top with a little cherry on top with the Champions League, then it'll probably be the best.
You're not winning the Champions
of my life.
Anyway, no, I don't think so either. It's bigger games for them. Yeah, no.
Speaking of Champions League, let's move on. There were obviously a lot of games that we'll maybe touch on. You guys can look those scores up. There's only one game that really matters, and it happened yesterday, and it happened in Madrid, and it happened in the Bernabeu. If you're from Paris, I sincerely apologize because your team is shambolic. Real Madrid beat PSG. Real Madrid beat PSG on aggregate 3-2, winning at home 3-1 with a hat trick from Karim Benzema. King Benz. Absolutely Benz on PSG after that opening with an Mbappe goal. The game was amazing. It was a great game. Real Madrid actually started really well, putting the pressure on PSG. They had to cope with it. After about 15-20 minutes, they really got in the rhythm of the game. And then with that Mbappe opener, in my opinion, I thought it was done and dusted. I thought they were going to control the game. I thought Mbappe was going to have 2 more. He did have 2 more that were both offside. And then it completely turned on its head when that Donnarumma mistake happened. Ben, did you ever think this was going to happen? Is it just in their nature that they just bottle round of 16 games that they win the first legs of?
Yeah, it's actually crazy how history repeats itself and like what legacy really does to a club. Like Real Madrid literally just proved it. Benzema just proved it. Modric, those guys who are in there for years now. So that like I'm not surprised by that outcome. I'm just surprised by how the game was going, how it just turned around in the second half like that. And I mean, we can call out the foul or no foul. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Because I don't know, like I have seen refs call that so many times, but I kind of have seen similar circumstances where they haven't. But
There's a lot. I feel like there's a lot of
like-
factors. I feel like there's a lot of factors in that foul specifically that like the ref took into account in like a split second. It's like one, he put like Donnarumma put himself in that position. So it's like
exactly
to bail him out then would just like you would have had a massive uproar from all the Madrid fans. Like, and then also like people were like, oh, he needs to go to VAR to overturn that. It's like if that did even go to VAR, it would have never been overturned because like there's not enough of a mistake because the VAR is for overturning obvious mistakes, right? That is not an obvious mistake either way you call it, right? And so it was really up to the ref's decision there, which I think is good for the game because it's still in the referee's hand, to decide those fouls and whatnot. And I think
so
PSG still had a whole other game, like a couple goals to bottle, like that started the momentum of it all.
Definitely.
But they still had a whole game to play after that, and they're kind of just babies if they're just blaming that one moment.
Definitely, that's a good point.
They lost the game in 30 minutes. They played well for 60 minutes, but the last 30 minutes they gave up and lost it. Messi, you're one of the greatest players of all time, top 5 in my opinion. But you've been part of some of the worst comebacks in history. Okay, you've been part of the worst capitulations in history of this game. You were playing. I think he was actually playing great for 60 minutes, and then he just gave up. Like, why do you not go get the ball and play out of pressure? Neymar, you're a clown. You're never gonna reach the success you ever that you should be having. You have
I feel bad for him, man.
I don't feel bad for Neymar at all.
They watches this, my guy did.
Yeah.
There's so many people to call out. There's so many people. Let's talk about the negatives first. Let's get PSG out of the way. There's so many people to call out for this. Neymar, Messi, Donnarumma, obviously Marquinhos. Pochettino, I'll start with because he has just proven time and time again that you can take the man out of Tottenham, but you can't take the Tottenham out of the man. This guy bottled yet another lead with one of the greatest squads ever assembled. And it just goes to show that he was not the man for the job to run a team like this, like Galactico team like this, whereas counterpart Ancelotti would probably be the greatest manager. I think Ancelotti would probably be the best manager nowadays to take over that squad to kind of handle all those egos and whatnot. But it just goes to show that he made so many tactical wrong decisions. He should have immediately, once they had the first goal up and seeing that Neymar was doing jack all, taken him off, kept Paredes in, put Idrissa Gana Gueye in there to hold the midfield, to keep the ball. And then I think they honestly would have been completely fine. I don't think Madrid would have scored one goal if they had done that.
And then Di Maria as well, like even defensively and going and running and putting in legs in the game. Like he didn't make that sub until like 80 minutes.
Yeah, well, he only made that offensive sub when they were down because they needed another goal. He's like, I'm gonna just throw another striker. My problem.
Yeah, it's like I'm already, like
he always reacts late though. Remember against Juve when Dybala scored that goal, he didn't react till they were down. Higuain scored the second one. They were down 2-1. Then he reacted. He always reacts late, and I don't think he was able to, like Joel said, reach the players and like make them perform the way he wants them to. Like if you remember those teams with Spurs, they pressed high up the pitch. PSG don't do any pressing. They don't do anything.
Yeah,
it's because of the personnel that he's working with too. Like that's why he's not the guy to instill that in them.
This proves that you can't win with 3 players of this level. Real Madrid didn't do it in the early 2000s with Ronaldo, Figo, Beckham,
Galacticos,
that era. They didn't do it. And my biggest problem of this whole thing is the fact that their owners and the coach blame the foul, which I don't think was really a foul.
Yeah.
And on top of that, my biggest point, and I'll give it to you guys, culture and history matters. That's why Man City's never going to win the Champions League, okay? These guys don't have the history to overcome this.
They got to start somewhere.
This was worse than the remontada, in my opinion. You guys take it over.
I don't think it was worse than remontada. I don't think anything can be worse than that, to be honest.
Yeah.
The team that they have now is much greater, and maybe
Messi, Neymar, Mbappe. They don't have any of those back then.
Yeah, fair enough. I see your point with that. I think Marquinhos uncharacteristically had a really bad game. He's usually, if you look for any leader in that squad, he is the leader in that squad, and he, had a deflection own goal essentially in the. I mean, it's not his fault. He was trying to block a shot, but had he not touched it, Donnarumma would have saved it. The pass back to Donnarumma to kind of put him in that situation, even though that was 80% the Italian goalkeeper's fault. And then just not riling up your team to be like, hey, let's get our shit together. Like, we're going to go out if we don't get it together. And maybe that's a product of that he, doesn't feel like he can speak to Neymar and Mbappe and Messi in that capacity because, he knows that they're bigger than the game itself in that regard. And it's just not a good culture to have on your team. And now they have nothing to play for. They're done.
That's
they
the
won
problem.
the league. They're out of the cup. They're out of the Champions League. Like, what are they going to do, jack all? They should be like, go lay on the beach and we'll pay you millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It's
And then get it again next year.
And get it try again next year when Mbappe's not going to be there.
Let's talk Madrid.
Real Madrid has an aura about them that like even at any point in that game, you could definitely see that they were capable of coming back,
Especially in Madrid.
even when it was 1-0, right? And that's what I really like about Ancelotti. Even a lot of managers would have came in and said we have so many good players, but he only focuses on the ones that want to play for the club and play well for them consistently, right? And you see your Eden Hazards and all of that. You could see a good squad and say, you know what, I'm good. Let me put in these players. They'll change the game. But he focuses on players that put in the effort. Like one of the biggest transformations that I've seen is Asensio. He was on his way out, and he definitely revived his own career by just putting in the effort. And Ancelotti wasn't afraid to say, I'll give you that chance, and he's been stepping up big. So I think there's an aura around Real Madrid, and I guess the management even now where the game's not over, and Benzema.
Until
we have
it's
to
over.
talk about Benzema.
I wouldn't give too much credit to Asensio because I feel like everything got going for them when they subbed him off for Rodrigo. Not saying that Rodrigo really was the catalyst at all. Obviously, was Big Ben's. But yeah, I would say
they should have made that sub a long time ago. But I
should've.
feel that's just an example of the fact that willing to make those hard decisions, but also reward people that are actually playing well.
Yeah. No,
Can we give Benzema his flowers, man? This guy's on the
Fran, I know you
top
love this.
of Real Madrid.
I love you. I know you love this French guy, so I'll let you, rant on him for a couple minutes if you want.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love him. I think he's so underrated. I think he gave his prime years of his career to Cristiano Ronaldo, and you should, because Ronaldo's the top 5 player of all time. He's my GOAT. Now that this Messi,
a lot of people are in this top 5.
You know what I'm saying? But
there's 10 people in the top 5.
Mount Rushmore. He's a top 4 goal scorer of all time in the Champions League and a top 4 goal scorer in Real Madrid history. His record, his goal ratio, record to games played and goals is phenomenal for Real Madrid. Only Ronaldo has a better ratio than him.
Yeah.
I just think he steps up to the plate whenever his name is called, and I think France robbed him because of that scandal he was under. He should have played for his country, and he should have been the star for that country. But
he should have a World Cup to his name right now, and there's no way you can argue that France wouldn't have won that had he been on that team, right?
No, exactly. And I just think he's, in my opinion, these past few years he's proven that he's one of the top 10, 12 best strikers of all time, and that's a big statement, but that's what I believe.
Yeah,
I think he has a big chance of winning the World Cup with France.
Yeah, back to back.
Very big chance. He can lead the team. In my opinion,
him and Mbappe.
Yeah, I mean, his form right now is insane. If he continues it into the World Cup,
and you guys saw
that team is just the next level.
You guys saw he wasn't fit in the first leg, and he was for this one, and how big of a difference that made.
It's true. Yeah. There's one guy I want to shout out on this Real Madrid team, and I do not like Real Madrid, so it pains me to say it, although I do respect this guy a lot. And we did slander him the last pod where we talked about the first leg, and that's Luka Modric, man. Luka Modric is 36 years old. Xavi, Iniesta, Steven Gerrard, all these people at that age were either retired, playing in nonsense leagues, or managing even at that point. And this guy is doing it on a wet, rainy night in the Bernabeu. I don't know if it was wet and rainy, but he was bossing it up, man, in the midfield with all these young guns. No one could touch him. No one could even tackle him. He was making key passes. He was running the game, and it's just like a homage to his greatness, man. I really didn't expect it from the guy.
He deserves that Ballon d'Or.
He really deserves that Ballon d'Or now. We criticize him a lot. A lot of people criticize him for that, but it goes to show he's a top quality player. Top 5 for us? I don't know about that, but
did you guys see the video of him in the locker room after celebrating, going up to everybody? The emotion this guy had after the game.
Yeah,
he was going up, hyping everybody up, like hugging everybody in the locker room, like going around. It was nuts. Like he was pumped up after just the round of 16 game. You know, it's crazy.
Definitely a leader.
Yeah,
and he's played every game. Like he's old, but he's played every game this season, and he still does it.
Right.
Yeah, and he's like not an athletic specimen. You know, you wouldn't expect this guy would be one of the last big ballers that I would have expected still bossing it at this age, 36 years old. You got to give the guy credit. Last thing I want to touch upon on this is that, in my opinion, I want to talk about the Mbappe transfer saga to Real Madrid. In my opinion, any glimmer of hope that he was going to stay at PSG is completely shattered and gone. No matter if they throw like $1 billion, it doesn't matter what they're going to give this guy. He is out, and they've proved. Like, if I was him, I would be furious with the club. He was the only guy showing effort in that game throughout the entire game, and he's definitely on his way out now. I think we're going to hear the announcement any moment, because I feel like the only reason they didn't announce it was because of this tie against Real Madrid, and so we'll see.
Well, I don't think he had made that decision, but after this, his decision's probably made up. Like, once he got, I don't know if you guys saw, but the standing ovation from the Madrid fans. He got a standing ovation. Like, this guy is meant to be at Real Madrid, and I wish him good luck. We'll see.
If you're a Real Madrid fan, you literally got the best of both worlds, because your team went through, and you had this guy that you're signing next season literally also ball out. So it's just like, wow, audition, literally an audition in the Bernabeu in front of their fans. For both sides too. I was listening to a podcast. They're saying it's interesting. Like, he was auditioning in front of the Bernabeu, showing what he can do, and then the Bernabeu was also auditioning for him, showing how he can feel in that stadium. And so we'll see what happens. That team is going to be nasty, and I don't like to think about it. But hopefully Barca can do something against them. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, there's a lot more Champions League action. There are a lot more league games. There are a lot more other footy news that we'll touch on quickly, because we are running on time. But just want to touch on some quick points to get everyone's thoughts. Quickly, big footy news. Chelsea's current owner, Roman Abramovich, sanctioned by the UK government, all assets frozen, which drastically affects him, obviously, but drastically affects the overall daily operations of the club. Fraz's dearly beloved Chelsea. Fraz, quickly run us through what that actually means and what it means for the team.
So basically, like you said, all his assets are frozen because the UK government fully sanctioned the club. And because the club is essentially fully owned, like we mentioned on our last podcast, by Chelsea PLC, which is a Roman Abramovich holdings company, they can't do anything. They can't buy players. They can't sell players. They can't renew contracts. They have very limited amount of money to spend on away games and on home games as far as catering and advertisement goes. So we'll see what happens. I think they have a policy that allows them to run as a club and as an organization, because they're part of the community, or such a big community asset, where they're able to play games, but they're very limited. And I think it's going to affect the players. I think it's going to affect the staff and the people at the club. I think they're going to argue it against the government, get a little bit more money. So we'll see what happens.
Not necessarily fair to the Chelsea fans, but I don't like those guys anyway. But moving on to other news, both footballing and newsworthy about some people's dearly beloved Everton Football Club losing 5-0 on Monday to Spurs in London. Terrible performance. Really just shows the state that the club is in. And not only did they lose that, literally 1 point ahead of Burnley, who are third to last from bottom. So really in the thick of a relegation battle for the first time since I can remember. But they not only are feeling that, but they're huge news that they might even have some points deducted because of violating some profiting and sustainability laws. And they've recorded certain losses they were trying to cover up for a period of, a couple of years, and it exceeded that amount. Guys, is Everton going to get relegated?
I think they could easily be. I mean, I think the biggest thing is the fact that they're in financial turmoil, and you can kind of just see the progression because of that, how it affects certain decisions for the club. So Yeah, I think they got to
I
rebuild.
definitely don't think Lampard was the man to take them out of this position right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's the next manager to go from the Premier League, even after being there for 3 games. So that's an interesting space. We'll keep everyone updated on that, but that's big news. Touch on other games. Obviously, there were other Champions League games in action. Liverpool advancing past Inter Milan, even though they got a quick little scare from that beautiful strike from Lautaro Martinez. But all that hope was completely nullified, and I wish we had RB on the pod to talk about this right now. Completely nullified by that Alexis red card, literally 1 minute after. Inter also, Faraz, as also an Inter fan, how did that make you feel?
Oh my God, my mind.
First one was not.
Honestly, though, he should have been sent off in the first half for a challenge he had on Fabinho as well.
You can't think about it.
Thiago, he should have been sent off for a challenge on Thiago. He got lucky, but I don't think I don't think that challenge was necessarily really bad. It was just mistimed a little, and because
if that was his first challenge, I don't even know if I could have argued that it maybe wasn't even a yellow card. I don't know, because he did get the ball. It's just his follow through on the foot.
Yeah,
but that completely shut down.
Oh, the second one was not. I don't think it was a red card at all, a yellow at all.
It completely.
What else is he gonna do?
Yeah, I mean that's fair, but it completely ended the game. Liverpool just cruised after that.
Yeah,
and to be fair,
they got a lifeline.
I got to give them credit.
They got a lifeline because Liverpool were shaking because Inter were playing well, and it kind of just ruined the game from a neutral perspective specifically, and also someone who doesn't want to see Liverpool football club do well.
Did play well too. They hit the post many times.
They did hit.
Salah did not.
Adanovic has his post to thank him once again. Other Champions League games. Bayern München, like we said, tying the first leg against Salzburg 1-1, but winning on aggregate 8-2. You can do the math. They scored 7 goals against Salzburg in Munich, with Lewandowski registering at the time the quickest hat trick in Champions League history, only for big body Benz to do it the very next day and break his record. But anyway,
can we run the tape? Can we run the tape of me calling that, predicting that 7-1?
I'll give Frost credit. He did run it. He did say and predict that Bayern were going to go and thump Salzburg. I think all of us kind of knew that. And Salzburg, I was going to say, could have left with their heads up high, even if they lost this next leg, because they tied a good Bayern team. But I don't know. After a 7-1 demolishing, I don't think there's any positives you can take from that. Other results around the ground: City played out a 0-0 draw against Sporting Lisbon in Manchester. Sorry to all those fans that were expecting to see goals. It was kind of a snooze fest in that regard. Although legendary keeper Scott Carson came off the bench to replace Ederson, making not his Champions League debut, but his first appearance in over 10 years. He almost got injured making a great save in the process. So honestly, great day for him. Now we have 4 teams booked into the next round of the Champions League. We got 4 more that have their spots to book next week. And we'll see how many tokens you guys are getting from those predictions competitions that you participated in. Lastly, to touch on, we also had some Europa League games. Who even cares about that? I guess some of us do, because Barcelona is in the Europa League right now. And they tied 0-0 to a terrible Galatasaray team right now. Barcelona on the up with momentum against this just terrible Galatasaray team that's fighting relegation in the Turkish league for the first time in forever. Should Barcelona be worried about this performance? Do you think they're going to thump them back in Barcelona?
I don't think they should be worried at all. But they had like a great last few weeks. So I think this was kind of just like a reminder, like, oh, they got to continue like really working hard and actually really wanting to win.
Was this like in Barcelona or in Turkey?
Yeah, this was at the Camp Nou.
Wow.
The turn's going to be in Istanbul. Listen to this
everyone
stat.
knows the atmospheres in Turkish stadiums, so you never know what could happen. But if they don't go through, it would be terrible.
Galatasaray haven't conceded in any away game in their European campaign this year, even though they've been shipping goals in the domestic league. So it's crazy.
Wow.
That's a very strange stat. Lastly, there are a bunch of Europa League games round of 16, but I think the most notable other game, Atalanta beating, was it Leverkusen they were playing?
Yeah.
They won how much? The 4-3 or something like that?
3-2.
3-2. Apologies for that. Atlanta winning the first leg 3-2. We'll see the return leg in a week's time, 2 weeks' time.
No, next
week. What's the gap between? Next week. Wow. Quick turnaround for Europa League games. Yeah. That is true. And then the other standout game, in my opinion, was Sevilla West Ham, with the Hammers going all the way to Seville, losing 1-0 though to the Europa League specialists. There was also some news: Frankfurt fans and West Ham fans clashing in the middle of the night. I think these fans just get drunk and find an excuse to throw shit at other people. I don't have much to say about that. But yeah, those are kind of the games around the grounds. Lots to talk about. it's hard to fit all of this information into one pod when there's Champions League and Europa League and Conference League games still too. Shout out to Roma. But yeah, that was thank you for joining us for ball stuff, guys. And let's wrap it up with some more Civitas updates. What to look forward to in the community. What's going on? Ben, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, I mean, again, as I noted at the start, we're just really trying to put the structure together, figure out exactly how we want to move forward within the organization. And in the meantime, I wanted to know on something. I think one of you guys mentioned earlier about, what we want to actually tell to the public, what we don't in the meantime. And in reality, we just want to see those people that want to, or that align with our mission and really want to come and be a part of it. We're more than happy to share stuff internally and how they can get involved and how they want to actually interact and get to know exactly how we're going to be doing stuff. So we're all for it. But, before we hop off, I just want to ask our guest, Jordy, what do you think of this mission? I want to get your thoughts on everything we're doing.
No, I think it's unique right now, and I think there's a lot of developments across the sporting league to give that sort of ownership to the fans, and I think it is such a cool initiative, and for everyone out there that is thinking about this in their own sport that they love and can be a part of, it's definitely possible, and this group will definitely show you that it is possible. And yeah, I'm excited to see what comes of it, and and just meeting people along the way that can definitely help this journey get across the finish line. So
100%.
Jordan, thank you very much for joining us as an honorary guest for the day of the podcast to talk all stuff about Civitas and ball stuff and crypto around the soccer community, the sporting world. As knowledgeable as any of us, so, but yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, guys, this is a great episode. We're going to have to come back and do it all again next week. Maybe Rocky Bobby will be back from his hiatus, drinking pina coladas on the beach in Miami. If you're in there, hit him up. He's the ugly Albanian dude with the sunglasses. But guys, this was a great episode. Love speaking with you guys, obviously, and more to come from Civitas. Stay tuned, everybody.
This is CIVITAS. Where will you be for the revolution?